Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Tom McDevitt. It is a pleasure to be here and welcome all of you to the International Media Association for Peace webinar, which is part of the whole constellation of webinars taking place in the Western Hemisphere today on Saturday, the 12th of September. In addition, similar webinars, similar conferences are happening all over the world. In Europe and Africa, I just spoke there this morning, in Asia, including Korea, Japan, China, all the way down to New Zealand. This is a phenomenal event. And at this moment, we're here to discuss the media, the role of media, especially in finding opportunity and hope at a time of global crisis, the role of the media. We have a fabulous panel of professionals. And this occasion, by the way, is also to celebrate the 15-year anniversary of UPF, and it's also the 100-year anniversary since the Reverend Moon, founder of UPF, was born. And he and his wife, Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, have been incredible in their leadership in this multi-sector environment. So our first speaker today is going to speak in English. His name is Chris Dolan, a colleague and dear friend. He's the president and executive editor of the Washington Times. He's a third-generation newspaper man who joined the Times 18 years ago. He's praised for his newsroom leadership and is really cutting new ground in America with a newspaper that is the fifth most respected news company in the country. So it is my pleasure to welcome Mr. Chris Dolan to share his thoughts with the audience. Chris, the floor is yours.
Tom, thank you very much. I appreciate the time and congratulations on 15 years. I think I want to jump right into the core mission, and what we've experienced over the last several months with the pandemic has reminded us all the important role that news organizations play in informing the public. And at the very core of everything we do is how do we provide readers and viewers information so they can make decisions about the world around them. I think COVID and the coverage around it has reminded us that we can do a good job of sticking to the facts and giving information out. We can quibble with some stuff that has devolved into politics during these times, but it has definitely served for me as a reminder of what we should be doing and what our reporters are supposed to be doing every day, is helping find information that they can corroborate, back up, and that can help people make decisions about what they're doing every day. It also is a reminder of the disarray of the state of newspapers in the US. And I think I'd like to talk briefly about that, and I'm hopeful that the people on this panel, and as we move forward, myself, can help correct some of these problems. But there has been a steady erosion of journalistic standards in the US, and I would say that they've pretty much coincided with the internet. Now, the internet has provided us the ability to access a lot of people, get information to people quickly, but it also has changed the model, the business model completely. So the erosion started early on with Craigslist, which started to steal classifieds and undermine the financial stability of news organizations, newspapers in general. And that has sped up, and it sped up primarily heading into the 2008 election cycle, when news became basically nonstop, around the clock on the internet. Up until the first run by Mr. Obama, news organizations basically took their newspapers and dumped them on the internet in the morning. On that cycle, it became a minute-by-minute coverage thing, and it changed the dynamic of advertising and how we were pursuing money. And it has led to an ongoing effort for speed. Some of the speed has undermined the reporting and the standards that editors used to enforce, of having multiple sources for information, having documentation to back it up. And also, it's also revealed in the last couple of years, more so than ever, how we have a generation of journalists who are coming up who want to be advocates. The role that we see a newspaper being and playing is advocating for all. You know, our reporting is done for everyone, doesn't matter race, color, creed. We believe that we're trying to get you information. that you can use. But there has been this ongoing decline as the financial pressures have taken control. And there's a lot of reasons for that, but newsrooms have gotten smaller, fewer editors, the speed by which you can make money off of page views and getting information out quickly, even if you don't double check it and back it up, the willingness to jump on other people's reporting and just foist it out there without trying to corroborate and make sure that it's accurate, has led to an increased problem of false information getting out there. And it is a responsibility of all news organizations to ensure that their people are properly vetting the information, but that has gone by the wayside as newsrooms have gotten smaller, fewer editors. The editors that are there may not be asking the questions that you got in previous generations. And I think that what we really need to be striving for is ensuring that we train people better, and that they aren't just advocating for one political side, that they're asking tough questions. You know, the belief has always been in the past that, you know, everybody has their political ideology and their belief system. And sometimes you would probably ask harder questions of people that you theoretically support in your mindset to ensure that you're properly vetting the information to get it out to people. So I have a lot of concern about where we're going, and most of it has to do with financial pressures. How do you staff state houses when nobody's reading state house coverage? How do you ensure that you're doing coverage? Listen, we know based on what people read now, and we can see it minute by minute online, that a lot of people are looking for entertainment. And that has not been the primary role of what a news organization should be. And the nonstop pursuit of getting people to look at your site throughout the day has led to some very bad practices. And hopefully we can roll those back as a better financial model comes into position, and news organizations find better footing financially so that they can support the coverage that they need to do that is important and shines a light on local government, on state government, and make sure that we're being the gatekeepers, or at least being people who are asking the right questions for the public about their public leadership. So I do feel like COVID has reminded us of what role we play, and the importance of what we put out can affect a lot of people and can influence a lot of people and their behavior. And that is a great responsibility. And moving forward, I hope we can figure out better ways to teach the younger generation coming up. I mean, we've come across this a lot with reporters that we're recruiting. I've had a lot of conversations with different professors at different universities who deal with journalists coming up through their programs. And what they are seeing is the old standard, or the effort to be nonpartisan reporters looking to access basic information and get it out to people, is being replaced by students who want to come in and advocate for a side, and through their reporting, analyze and advocate for that position. And that has bled into a lot of newsrooms, more so in the last couple of years, especially in the United States under Donald Trump. There is definitely some frustration with him from some of the bigger news organizations, and they have seemed to have lowered their standards, where you can read a lot of their stories which have a lot of opinion in them. So I have no problem with opinion. We're full of opinion at the Washington Times, but we keep it on the commentary sections, and we try very hard to do that. And we try very hard to delineate what you're reading is opinion or fact, and make sure news stories are separate. So these last couple months have given us some blueprints for, you know, why we're here, what we're doing, and what role we need to play, and what a vital role we play for the Republic, and how we need to adjust a little bit moving forward and find a better financial situation so we can ensure to do it better in the future.
Chris, thank you. I appreciate your comments. I know you had tremendous experience there at the Washington Times, and especially serving both as president as well as executive editor. You see both the business and the content side. Terrific comments. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you.
Folks, you're more than welcome. Everybody online, if you're looking for the translation button, it's the bottom of your screen. So if you need to listen to the translation, just go down there and look for your language and click it. Our next speaker is speaking in Spanish, and he also was with us in Korea back in February, Mr. Salvador Nasralla. He's an engineer He's a popular TV host in the Honduras, the founder and director of the Weekend Sport TV magazine. And he's been in broadcasting and media for 40 years, which has earned him the nickname El Señor de la Television, the Lord of Television. In 2017, Mr. Nasralla ran as the Honduran presidential candidate on an anti-corruption platform, and we are so delighted to have him with us today. Mr. Nasralla, the floor is yours, sir.
Muchas gracias. Muchísimas gracias. El papel del periodismo siempre fue muy importante para orientar a las personas. La responsabilidad de lo que se transmite
The responsibility of what's transmitted has been taken because of the global situation of COVID-19. Because of the very bad misinformation disclosed, more political and economical interest than seeking the common good of the majority. This media disorientation became a second pandemic accompanied by fear instilled by many media, especially in countries where corruption prevails. In addition, due to the later, the diversion of public funds to private pockets was accentuated in nations such as Honduras, where the government kept its population under a curfew and with a circulation restricted every 15 days, and now once every day for 10 days for 6 long months, with suspension of constitutional guarantees and the state of exception that produced fear and despair in people. In countries where the mainstream media survived thanks to the government's advertisement patterns, it is difficult to project a realistic and responsible, optimistic message about the way the problem should be addressed. Even 40% of the information projected through social networks was paid in many parts by the great interest that moved the world to create a mistaken and fearful awareness of the situation. Responsible publication by experienced doctors and researchers around the world were censored by the world main media and deleted to prevent their disclosure on social networks, since they financially harm the segments that control the finances of the world. In order for social communicators to play an influential role in favor of displaced majorities, work must first be done, especially in these poor countries, on the ethical and moral training of journalists and promote that their income does not depend on accommodating their opinions at the service of the ruling minorities. The population of the world has grown exponentially so much to the point that the decisions of those who control the wealth of the universe are not secret, in which the extinction of millions of people is promoted through unnecessary vaccines, loss of employment, but business closures, hunger, sadness, and hopelessness. Suicide rates have risen sharply this year. In great crisis, great opportunities appear. And the main one in all nations has been communication through the internet, that today became accustomed to until the beginning of this 20% seemed something exclusive for certain types of people, of computer specialists. The people who has communication through social networks are greatly increased. The poor is suffering for the access to internet. The majority of the communication through social networks has greatly increased the work of people since confinement and has allowed the development of skills not usually specialists in other disciplines in order to survive. The government media and private media that have true social responsibility became obligated to disclose these survival alternatives and in addition to generate free spaces for education and majority of the population that normally went physically to schools, colleges, and universities. The increase of people turning the social networks and other cybernetic communication tools such as Zoom
ha
has
fomentado la
fostered
interdependencia
interdependency
entre los
between
países
countries
a través de
through
trabajos
joint
conjuntos
work
e
and
intercambios que
exchanges
promueven
that
el
promote
acercamiento entre las
rapprochement,
naciones y la prosperidad
reapproachment
mutua,
between nations
disminuyendo
and mutual
costos de
prosperity,
desplazamiento.
reducing travel of
El
costs.
traslado de la publicidad
The
de las
transfer for
empresas
companies
desde los medios
advertising from
tradicionales a las
traditional
redes
media to
sociales
social
ha
network
permitido
has
también la
also allowed
oportunidad de
journalists
generar nuevos
to
ingresos
create
para los
opportunity to
periodistas,
generate
lo cual
new
en el
incomes,
mediano plazo
which in the medium term
contribuirá
will
a
contribute
orientar
to
mejor
better
a la
targeting the
población que
population
más
that
lo necesita,
needs it more,
gracias a la
thanks to the
independencia que
independence
tendrán para comentar la
to
noticia que
comment
muchos
and the news that
pregonan
many
tener
proclaim to
y no
have,
tienen.
but they haven't.
Se trata de nuevas
It is about
costumbres de
new
subsistencia,
habits of
crecimiento moral
subsistence,
y económico
moral
e
and growth,
interdependencia que
economical
marcarán
growth,
la historia
and
de nuestras vidas a partir
interdependence
de
that
este
will
año.
mark the history of our lives
Además de los
starting this year.
esfuerzos que todos hacemos
In
por
addition to the
sobrevivir
effort that
ante
we
la
all make to
adversidad
survive in the
expuesta,
face of
como región
exposed adversity,
centroamericana
as
y
Central
caribeña,
American and Caribbean region, we
solicitamos
ask the
a las
great
grandes
nations of the
naciones del
world
mundo que alguna vez
that once
pasaron por
went
nuestra
through our
calamitosa
dire
situación
situation in the
en la que
past,
casi el
which
80%
almost
de la
80% of the
población
population has
está
been
condenada a
condemned
la pobreza
to
y ya vive en
poverty, and
pobreza,
out of
y
every two
donde una
people
de cada dos personas viven en la
living extreme
indigencia,
poverty,
que tomen
who are
conciencia en el
aware in
sentido
the
que la
sense that
mayoría de
most of
nuestros
our
gobiernos,
governments
a los
that
que
they
ellos apoyan
support
económicamente
economically
y legitiman
and
su
legitimize
existencia,
their existence
se apoyan
rely
en eso
on this
para
to
mantener un
maintain a
esquema
scheme
de
of
desinformación y
disinformation and
explotación en el
exploitation
que,
with
debido a la
or without the
corrupción y a
arrival
la
of pandemics.
impunidad, independientemente de la llegada de pandemias, 8 de cada 10 personas
8
no
out of
tendrán
10
nunca
people
las
will
posibilidades
never
de
have a
salir de la
chance to get
pobreza
out of
a
poverty
menos que decidan
unless they
emigrar
decide to
hacia el
migrate north,
norte arriesgando sus
risking
vidas
their lives.
o a menos que tengamos ayuda de las grandes
Or in the
naciones,
other way,
especialmente
we get
ahora
some
con las
support
coberturas
from the
de
great
Internet.
nation, especially
gracias.
now after the internet era. Thank you so much.
Thank you very, very much, Mr. Nasralla. I appreciated your comments. Our next speaker is Dr. Sérgio de Azevedo Redó. He's the president of the Sao Paulo Press Association, which was founded in 1933. It is regarded as the palace of the press in Brazil. He's also the vice president of the prestigious National Press Federation in Brazil and a presenter on the weekly television program Press Room. He's also an attorney, a business administrator, a university professor, and auditor. And it is our pleasure and honor to have Dr. Redó with us today. And folks, he will be speaking in Portuguese. So please check your translation button on the bottom to hear your appropriate language. Dr. Redó, please, you have the floor, sir.
Boa tarde. Falo aqui da cidade
Good
de São
afternoon.
Paulo,
I
estado
speak
de São
from
Paulo, no
São
Brasil.
Paulo, Brazil.
Mr. Thomas McDevitt,
Mr.
desse
Thomas
importante jornal
McDevitt,
internacional Washington Times.
this
É com
from this
muito
important
prazer
newspaper, the
que,
Washington
em
Times.
convite,
It's a pleasure.
agradeço à Federação para a Paz Universal, através do seu presidente internacional,
I say
excelentíssimo
thank you.
Dr. Thomas Welsh,
The invitation by
para ser
UPF
parte desta
from the
conferência
excellence
sobre
Dr. Thomas Welsh to
tema,
participate in this
oportunidades,
conference with the exciting topic,
tempo
Opportunity and Hope at a
global
time of
no
global
papel da
crisis,
A
the
grande
media's role.
mídia surgiu
The media
com o
rise with the
advento da
creation with the
criação das
printing
prensas.
press.
Aqui vou fazer
In the
uma
Portuguese
expressão
language,
para reproduzir textos impressos em papel. Daí o
to
termo
print
imprensa,
text in
com o
Portuguese,
interventor,
and from this
gravador e
came the
gráfico,
term
Johannes
imprensa.
Gutenberg. No período
Johannes
do Sacro
Gutenberg
Império Romano
in the
Germânico,
Sacred Roman German
mas foi
Empire in the 15th century. In 1445, Gutenberg started to print the first book in 2 volumes, the Holy Bible, which has ensured itself as one of the highest milestones to this day. The invention of Gutenberg was a fundamental step towards the accessibility of the information throughout the world. There was emerging the interest from the society in producing the information on a big scale, the mass media. 500 years later, one of the genesis of the expansion of information transformed a mobile phone into a high-quality computer. Thus, the admirable Steve Jobs with your brand Apple created a business valued today in the technological market in $1.2 trillion. This value is higher. than the GDP, gross domestic product, of 80% of the countries in the whole world. We see, ladies and gentlemen, that in all this time, the world went through uncountable transformations since the Roman Empire. Principally Portugal and Spain, discovering the ocean and opening great sea routes. The European monarchy with the British supremacy, the Age of Enlightenment with Rousseau and Voltaire, with freedom of expression, and many others that led their deeds in history. The scientific revolution started in the 16th century until the 18th century to awake the interest and the emergence of major world powers, England, France, Germany, and USA, with inventions that would change the living standards from the steam machine to the automobile, and then industrial age. It is important to emphasize the carved stone age didn't advance and transformed in the fire age for lacking stones. Reflect about it. It was the human's creativity and skills to transform, to find opportunities, to bring hope, even in times of crisis, that brought changes. From the carved stone to fire to read the outer space and the high digital technology, then to a nanotechnology and extraordinary progress. A Brazilian engineer built a house using a 3D printing machine. The Honda exhibit cars with parts made by a 3D printing machine. In Dubai was inaugurated the first office in the world using as well the 3D printing machine. We can say that the fall of the Berlin Wall in the 20th century was the defeat of the communism in the Occidental and Western civilizations. The communism led a trail of destruction, not just for 150 million of that, but the death of a spirit and the propagation of a worldwide anarchy, what we can see clearly in society today. All of this historical discussion is to prove that until today, what brought effectively opportunities and hope in time of global crisis is, in this crisis, is the conviction to live seeking peace, absolute peace, harmony, serenity, and the values that structure the humans, such as honesty, dignity, ethic, that strengthen the main cell of society, the family. By the way, I want to celebrate and talk about the Reverend Moon that has served society. And if he was alive, he would be 100 years now. He fought a lot for peace, but still was persecuted by the press. The biggest challenge in the world media is to admit their mistakes. For example, the way how COVID situation was conveyed. It was an absolute terrorism against the population, generating fear rather than contributing with the information for practice of conventional medicine that brings results. The method of vertical isolation for people over 60 years old, carriers of disease, respiratory, circulatory, and neurological would be better than a strict horizontal isolation, causing a worldwide lockdown, generating unfixable consequences of starvation and misery, besides unemployment, due to a society transformed into robots going back to the cave era. That is why we don't hesitate to draw in the attention of the authorities around the world from all 5 continents that the universal peace is the only path to solve the big problems. The universal peace, in fact, to solve the big problems, especially the hunger and the pandemic that we live now and the ones to come. This is the reason to emphasize the tireless work of Dr. Hakshamun, the co-founder of the Universal Peace Federation, known in the world as the Mother of Peace, whose results obtained are extremely important to humanity. The distinguished people that live in this planet need to know that such work is filled with heavenly values, transforming suffering pain and anguish in hope. That's what we all need to seek better places and greatness and well-being. The creativity and interest in sharing the truth to use the raw material of serenity, ethics, and the professionalism are the best and strongest ways that the good information in the international media has urgently to embrace, because creates credibility to the readers, viewers, and internet users. Once the fake news is spread, it can create a pandemic. It can cost innocent lives, besides killing the hope and the trust that should bond the relationship between human beings. The role of the media is to assume the position of leadership within the light of opportunities, always on, to keep conquering the credibility, a dominant aspect to the whole international society. It sees in peace the way to prosperity, the way to a new normal. Indeed, the media is without a doubt responsible for sharing good and bad news throughout the world. We journalists are the agents of transformation and creation of habits, values, and opinions. We have the professional responsibility to spread true facts, because when we change social reality, a real event, not only do we not fulfill our honorable responsibility to present the news, but we also betray our conscience and lower our class and make it worse. And worse, we steal the hope of everyone that believes in our important work. Media needs to be the conscience of a nation. Once again, thank you very much, UPF, for this opportunity.
Dr. Redó, thank you very, very much. That was a sweeping presentation, history of technology, and such an insightful analysis of the media environment. I'm sure all of our audience looks forward to asking questions to you and your predecessors, as well as the ones who are going to come now. So thank you again, sir. That was an excellent presentation. Our next speaker comes from the great nation of Bolivia, Mr. Douglas Romay Lanza. He is the owner and manager of Canal Interactivo TV Radio. He served as the president of the Association of Journalists of the city of Potosí in Bolivia. He'll be speaking in Spanish. Mr. Lanza is also holds a position of senior official of human development and culture of the municipal government of Potosí. He's the editor-in-chief of Radio Chiriquela Sucre in Bolivia and a professor at Domingo Savio University. We are delighted to have you with us today, sir. And I understand that you're going to show a video first, and then you'll make some commentary on your video. So the producers can please go ahead and roll the video, and then we'll hear from Mr. Lanza.
Damas y caballeros,
ladies and gentlemen, please receive my cordial greeting from Bolivia.
Mi ciudad es un pequeño
My
territorio
city
en el mundo,
is a small
cuya
town
historia
in the world,
es de vital
whose
importancia
history
para el nacimiento de mi
is of
país,
vital importance
pero
for
también
the
para la
nation
existencia del
and
viejo
also
mundo.
for the existence of the world.
Nuestra historia ligada a la minería
Our history
colonial
is
y
linked to the
moderna
mining.
nos ha llevado a conocer desde la bonanza
It has taken us
hasta la crisis
to
económica.
know the greatest
Sin embargo,
and
seguimos
until
aquí,
the more
construyendo día
terrible
a día
situation, but
nuestro
also
futuro
building day by
con
day
las acciones presentes
with
de
all
nuestras nuevas
present actions
generaciones.
of our new generation. Present action of our new generation.
Esta pandemia nos ha
This
tocado a
pandemic
todos sin
has taken us
excepciones
without
ni
exception.
fronteras. Nos ha
The
mostrado lo
world
débiles que
as a whole.
podemos ser
It has
si la
shown how weak
afrontamos
we are,
solos.
how fragile we are.
Pero también Nos ha
but
enseñado
also
que si
it
seguimos
is
juntos,
also teaching us
seremos
that
más
we keep up
fuertes.
together, we will be
Esta
stronger.
crisis ha
We
puesto sus
will
principales titulares
overcome
en
this
todos
crisis.
los medios de comunicación
And all
y
the
en
medias
todos los
have been taken
continentes del
for
mundo.
all the continents of the
Los
world.
periodistas y comunicadores
The
sociales
journalists and communicators,
también
social
arriesgaron sus
communicators,
vidas para mantener
also
a
they
la
have
población
taken risks
global
their life to keep
informada y
the,
alejada del virus, coronada
the
como
people
autoridad
informed
en
about
las
the
calles del
the
mundo.
virus. So
Desde
has
las salas
become
de
an authority
redacción,
in the world.
cabinas
So
de radio,
the whole of
sets de televisión, hemos
of
mantenido a
teaching,
muchas familias
we have
unidas
maintained
bajo el mensaje "Quédate en casa".
keep at
Lamentablemente,
home, the campaign
también
keep at home, stay
hemos
at home.
encerrado bajo el mismo
We
techo
also
a
have
niños,
developed
niñas y mujeres en contacto con
ladies.
sus agresores. Asesinatos,
We have seen
feminicidios y
how
violaciones
people,
fueron
women
las
has
otras
been
informaciones
also
que se
damaged
escondieron en los
because of
hogares del mundo
feminicides
mientras la población global se
in our
concentraba en el
population,
avance
global
de la
population,
pandemia.
because of this time of the pandemic. These are images of a Christ. Sharing things for activities of the sector that consider
Esta
more
crisis tendrá que
essential.
pasar en algún momento.
We have to
Dios
pass by.
decida que hemos aprendido la lección.
We have learned the lesson. We have to show somehow that we have learned the lesson.
Los seres humanos hemos comprendido en esta
Human
crisis
beings
lo
have become to
importante
understand
de un abrazo.
how important
Extrañamos el calor de un
is
beso y lo
how
mágico de
we
una
miss
caricia.
the,
Hemos cubierto nuestros
the warmth of a
rostros por
kiss and the
protección
magic of a
y hemos
care.
aprendido a vernos
We
frente
have
a frente
learned to
y a
see
los
each
ojos.
other, face to face
Hemos
to the eyes.
descubierto que nos
We have
ponemos una
found
careta social
that if we are-
todos los días.
We can
Nos
use a
mentimos
mask
entre
every day,
nosotros mismos sin aceptar que somos los culpables de nuestras crisis.
not
Y al
accepting
mismo
that
tiempo,
we are
somos
the ones
responsables
responsible
de
for our
crear
own crisis.
nuevas oportunidades
If
de
we need to
convivencia
create new
social
opportunities
basada en la paz. Vivimos
based
en
on
un
the
mismo
peace,
territorio,
we live in the
pero
same
estamos
territory,
divididos en formas de pensar
but we are
tendencias
divided in
políticas
just way of
y
thinking,
hasta visiones religiosas.
and also even
Es
different
momento de
vision,
comprender
religious
que
vision.
somos obra
We need to understand
de una misma creación y
we
que
are
Dios
part of a
está
same
sobre
creation
todas las cosas.
above all other things.
Si logramos que estos mensajes
If
se
we
apoderen de los
achieve these
contenidos
messages,
de los medios de
go all
comunicación
the world,
masivos,
the media,
empezaríamos restaurando la
we will
célula
be
más
restoring
importante de
the
toda
thing
sociedad.
most important
La
of the
familia.
society, the family.
Solo
We
cuando
will be
restauremos
restoring
a
that
las
society.
familias del mundo,
Only when we restore the
empezaremos a
family,
brindar esperanzas
we will
de
begin
días
to
mejores
have some
para
hope
todos.
for our life.
Desde hoy en adelante,
From
si
now
salen
on,
de casa, recuerden
in
esto.
home, at home, remember,
Contagien fe.
be contagious of faith,
Viralicen mensajes positivos.
but
Y
vitalize
automediquen su alma con la
message,
palabra
positive
de
messages.
Dios.
And
Y cuando
be
vuelvan a
careful,
casa,
because you have
cierren
to
la
talk the word of
puerta
God.
e
Close your door
inicien su vida en familia con
and
una
begin
frase.
your family
Mi casa
in your
y
family,
yo serviremos al Señor.
because we, me and my house, we will serve the Lord.
Amigos y amigas,
My dear friends of the world,
no podía ser de otra manera que
I couldn't say in another way but by linking this to the media, and so by using the tools that we use to reach you,
de todos y cada uno de
to the
ustedes,
heart of every one of you, citizens of the world. Is that precisely the power that we have as media in this era of crisis? Is the one that needs to go into the heart of a people, to all members of this planet, but also to the heart and the cell of the society, the heart of the cell of the society. The media needs to show the contents, our messages, restoring the spirit of whole soul and heart of the families. Then we will have a society much better. The way to peace, to world peace, it will be easier if we look into the productivity, which is so vital in our existence, to become friends about what other things. We have the power as media to transform, thanks to the word, to the power of word, the heart of all the people. I hope this encounter, this meeting, open the hearts of all the people. And so we take the responsibility in front of a camera, or behind a microphone, or in a whole room of newsroom. Our work is connected to the betterment of the quality of the human being, our citizen people. From Potosí, Bolivia, my great heart greetings to all of you, honoring the UPF for the Federation for World Peace, and blessing for all of you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mr. Lanza. What a powerful video. It's clear you're a great journalist, a video journalist, and your comments are so heartfelt. We really appreciate it. Thank you again. Our next speaker comes from America, from the Washington, D.C. area. Was also with us in Korea. He'll speak in English. Mr. David Morgan, a good friend and colleague, is the founder and managing partner of the D. Morgan and Partners and co-founder and president of the Multicultural Media Association, Correspondence Association. They hold incredible conferences every year, both banquets and seminars that are vital in this area of diversity in the media. He has more than 20 years of experience in government relations on Capitol Hill and specializes in building coalitions and bipartisan relationships. His work with the MMCA is known to honor multicultural media experience and encourage innovation and diversity in the media, especially among young journalists. And it's a pleasure to have David with us. Mr. Morgan, please, the floor is yours, sir. It's good to have you.
Thank you. Greetings, everyone. As Tom said, my name is David Morgan, and I'm president of the Multicultural Media and Correspondence Associations. I'm proud to represent diverse media stakeholders resolved to secure the power that comes from owning and controlling how our story is told. As Tom mentioned, it was an honor to be here, to be with him and the UPF in Seoul, Korea earlier this year, and to feel the positive energy from all the journalists and media professionals that gathered from across the world. I was also glad to be able to attend the business conference and participate in the wonderful celebrations. I left totally inspired and energized to get back to work. I want to especially thank and congratulate Dr. Thomas Walsh, chairman of UPF International, and Dr. Michael Jenkins, president of UPF International, for their outstanding leadership in putting this conference together. Congratulations on your 15th year anniversary. Well, today I want to talk about the media's role in shaping the narrative on social and economic justice. I'd like to start by making two key observations that the current economic, social, and political crisis in the US has made clear. The first observation is that reliable and readily accessible information from local and diverse news platforms is more than just a public good. It is an essential service. This is especially true for underserved communities who rely on local and diverse media to get information they can trust about vital health and safety precautions. Underserved communities also rely on local and diverse media to be a watchdog to ensure government and corporate accountability and for awareness of the social, economic, and political events controlling their lives. The second observation is that media continue to have unparalleled power to shape how we as global citizens view and engage each other and our attitudes towards citizenship. Now, I started out with these two observations because I wanted to underscore why ensuring that we have a diverse and free press is more important now than ever. See, the United States, and I would say the world, is at a very important inflection point in the fight for economic, social, and political justice and equality. It is also an inflection point on what it means to be a citizen. For far too long, the rich and powerful have used their dominance over the media to shape a narrative of racial, gender, and geographic inferiority, to deny groups the right of citizenship, and to uphold unjust political, economic, and social justice systems. Our willingness and ability to diversify who controls the media, and in turn, who, what, when, and how the news is told, will play a pivotal role in determining whether we unite as a global community to end systemic oppression based on race, gender, geography, or economic status, and also whether we fully embrace equality in global citizenship. That is why I believe IMAP is so critical and necessary if we are to emerge from the current unrest as a stronger and more peaceful world. I cannot underscore enough that at a time like now, when social cohesion and global citizenship is so needed, we need this global call to action for greater media diversity and freedom of the press. The key pillars of the effort must include coalition building, awareness and advocacy campaigns, constructive engagement, stakeholder assistance, and celebrating multicultural and diverse media excellence. I believe in the promise of IMAP because the Multicultural Media and Correspondence Association shares this mission. Who owns the story shapes the narratives, and in turn controls what society believes and how society acts. This effectively gives them power to determine who wins and who loses. The good news from my perspective is that our call to action here in the US is picking up steam. We are collaborating, we're executing and amassing a growing and powerful tribe of diverse and local media stakeholders and owners. The tribe also includes our supporters, our allies, and political champions, all resolved to increase and strengthen diverse and local media ownership and representation. It is also picking up steam because more and more major media companies and executives are committing to move from statements to actions and to have difficult conversations that lead to concrete consensus-based solutions. Many people have asked me, why am I so resolved in my fight to create greater opportunities for media stakeholders of color to own content and distribution and gain more control of the media narrative? Well, the answer is that my conviction really comes from my desire to ensure a bright future for my son, Alex. See, as the speakers have all agreed, the media remains the primary lens through which he will view himself in the world, and its lack of diversity is frankly unacceptable. I want my son to grow up in the America and the world that I dream about for him and that Dr. Moon talks about. The America where what he sees on the screen reflects the positive reality that I'm working so hard to create for him, where he can dream bigger than his dad and feel empowered to achieve those dreams. The truly free and diverse media that I, in partnership with IMAP, am resolved to make a reality is needed to create that America and that world. I am confident that together we will bring it to fruition. Thank you.
Thank you so much, David. Boy, I know if we were sitting together in a conference room with, there's almost 1,000 people on this call right now, on this Zoom call, and you can just hear the applause, speaker after speaker. And you hit some high notes there. And most important, you left us with that note that you're doing this work for your son. And we all feel that. We all have the same heart. So thank you very, very much. Profound work, and we cherish the opportunity to work together with you. Our final speaker, Mrs. Cheryl Wetzstein, has been working together with myself and our team with IMAP on a global level. She's an award-winning journalist, now retired, 40 years of work in New York and in DC, especially with the Washington Times. She's been a feature writer, an assistant business editor, columnist, and national reporter. And Cheryl's main beats were social policy, the family, and the culture war. She later worked with the Times business department and put together some outstanding special sections. And I've got to tell you, with the content that's being shared today, I think we have great thought leadership that's been put out to the audience, and we look forward to capturing all of that. And with that in mind, I want to bring up Cheryl to take the floor and finish us off with a view of where we think we can go with IMAP and anything else you'd like to share. So Cheryl, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to join everyone as we talk about the state of media today. As you heard, I'm now Senior Advisor for the International Media Association for Peace, or IMAP. IMAP is a new project of the Universal Peace Federation, and it was launched in February at a Global Peace and Education Summit in South Korea. The Washington Times, Seige Ilbo of South Korea, and Seikai Nippo of Japan were the three media co-sponsors of the summit. The summit was led by Dr. Hak Jahan Moon, who founded UPF with her late husband, the Reverend Dr. Sun Myung Moon. And part of this year's summit, in addition to the anniversary of UPF, was to celebrate Reverend Moon's extraordinary life on the 100th anniversary of his birth in 1920. IMAP was launched at Mrs. Moon's behest on the strong and deep foundation of the World Media Association, which some of you might remember. The World Media Association was founded in 1978, and it became renowned for its large international conferences on topics like media ethics, the mission of the media, and media best practices. The World Media Association also helped journalists hone their craft by holding fact-finding tours all over the world. Journalists, reporters, editors, photographers, like my own husband, Doug Wetzstein, traveled to dozens of countries and met and interviewed the local leaders and learned firsthand what was going on, and especially in the trouble spots. The vision for IMAP, and here I'm going to echo Tom McDevitt a little bit, is to provide leadership and networking opportunities for media practitioners around the world. IMAP will organize events on topics like media leadership, media credibility, media standards, ethics, and practices. IMAP will help media leadership to anticipate and respond to the still ongoing industry upheavals and the innovations. IMAP will encourage development and recognition of media excellence and do all that it can to help the industry around the world regain its position as a public institution that is highly respected by people, highly trusted, independent, prosperous, and accessible to all people. And finally, as the word peace in IMAP's name suggests, there will be a strong emphasis on news, features, and opinion that shine a light on the great untold stories about people making a positive difference in the lives of others. Successful peace building and problem solving and conflict resolution are all deserving of our attention. And when IMAP was inaugurated earlier this year, some 400 media practitioners signed an IMAP resolution outlining these kinds of goals and actions. So, since February, what has IMAP been doing? Well, in June, an IMAP panel of European panelists, journalists, as well as myself representing the United States, we joined a Peace Talk webinar on the role of news media in the global COVID-19 crisis. And as others have said today, and to no one's surprise, the news media has been strongly criticized for its COVID reporting. There is still way too much confusion, unanswered questions, but the IMAP panel in Europe opened a door to at least begin talking and having a conversation about how the media has handled this unprecedented pandemic. That's not anybody's beat, you know, and then what the media can do to improve its coverage going forward. Also in June, the Asia Pacific region had an IMAP leadership online event. 10 panelists addressed some 500 registered participants from 48 nations with translations in English, Thai, Cambodian, Indonesian, and Russian. The Asia IMAP event showed that the world, at least on the IMAP panels, the world is actually united around the need for the media to be honest, fact-based, and accurate, and for the media to keep their personal opinions to themselves. A veteran journalist from Australia just said flat out, the media needs to be impartial like judges on the bench. Other IMAP speakers from India, the Philippines, Cambodia, and Nepal said that the media should not be fomenting division or chaos or panic. Instead, the media's job is to gather and convey information that informs and also, whenever possible, inspires and empowers people. And finally, in Russia, IMAP leaders organized an online conversation with a woman who was regarded as one of Russia's top journalism professionals. And I'm gonna butcher her name here, but it's Lyudmila Fomacheva. And Mrs. Fomacheva was candid about journalism in Russia. And she spoke about challenges with freedom of the press there. Her advice to Russians was to look beyond sources that were either always critical or always rosy, and look at news feeds from multiple sources so that you can, quote unquote, draw an independent conclusion. So just looking at this handful of events around the world this year, I think IMAP is already revealing a universal hunger in all nations for a free, independent media to do its job of informing we the people and using the highest standards for truth, balance, fairness, and accuracy. After all the media has in the end is its credibility. And sadly, in America, many people do not trust the media. A new survey of 20,000 people by Gallup and the Knight Foundation found that almost 50% of Americans see, quote unquote, a great deal of bias in news coverage, and they blame the media for this. IMAP has been created to fill a vacuum of leadership in the media world. And as we speak, and as Tom McDevitt referenced, this weekend, there are IMAP panels being held with many thousands of people viewing in Europe, Africa, and Asia. We know from around the world that people believe a free, accurate, and ethical press is necessary to have an educated and informed population. IMAP has taken on a very important mission, and we hope that you will find a way to participate in it no matter where you live. So thank you for listening, and I'm going to turn it back to Mr. McDevitt. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Cheryl. Well done, well done. Appreciate all of the speakers. As I said, I think that the transcript of what we've talked about today is informative. We'd love to put it together into a special report. We've got 5 minutes left. We got a whole bunch of questions, several dozen of them, but we're only going to be able to take one or two. And I'm going to ask, take the prerogative here. There was something that one question that came in that came from a talk that Dr. Moon did back in 1978. Where he said, more than ever before, the pen is mightier than the sword. We always believe the media must be free, and a free press must also be a responsible press, and that a responsible press is a moral press. What do I mean by a moral media? A moral media is society's conscience. I'd like to ask the panel, maybe one or two or three people, just to make a brief comment. What does it mean in your work, in your leadership of your sphere of influence, that the media could be society's conscience, especially in this complex issue of global transformation, the pressures from COVID-19, the economic pressures, the security issues? What does it mean to you as a media professional that a moral media is society's conscience? And I'd like to start this off with David Morgan, and then go to Chris Dolan, and then to Dr. Redó, if we could, and then we'll finish it up. Just 1 minute each. David, what do you think? Moral media, society's conscience. Does that make sense to you? What do you think that means?
Absolutely. I'll just point out three things. I think it should be truthful and fair. It should be participatory, meaning it has to be among the people, its readers, to understand their perspectives, to not just talk about the what, but also the why. And I think more than anything, it has to speak truth to power and to call out unfairness and where the interest of the people is being abridged.
Thank you, David. Chris, how about you? What are your thoughts on media as the conscience of society? And I do have a question that came in for you, but go right ahead.
Okay,
Chris?
well, I think David answered it perfectly. There's not much to add. I will say that setting the narrative has come up a couple times, and the importance of it. The difficulty now is the media has expanded tremendously depending on how you define it. And a lot of people who are not trying to present fair information are able to get information out into the sphere that is, sent all over the place. And the news organizations must do a better job of vetting this information. But it's a nonstop barrage from these sites that have popped up on both sides of the aisle, especially in the US, that are basically politically driven efforts to set a narrative. And they use news organizations that they set up to do so. And that is a dangerous route we're taking right now. But morality is treating your neighbor with respect, and our readers are our neighbors. And we need to hear them, listen to them, what's important to them, what are their questions when there is information coming out, and we represent them. So that is what we try to do on a daily basis, and we'd love to play a bigger role in that. Thank you.
Appreciate that so much, Chris. Let's go to Dr. Redó in Portuguese. Dr. Redó, what are your thoughts? Media is the conscience of society.
Mr. Thomas McDevitt, the question is very good, but it's important that we reflect about the foundation of media. The media is not the conventional media as it was before. It's not the TV and radio as we had before. Today we have a media that is fantastic through internet. As you can see, in Steve Jobs, when he creates one of the most important equipments in the whole world, how the first president was elected in the US, it was through the press. And after that, the second president, it was through the press too. But which media? The social media, because if it wasn't by that, we wouldn't have the opportunity to have the elected American president, as well as in Brazil, because the media in Brazil had a very negative all the conventional media in Brazil were very against Bolsonaro. They said that he was going to be defeated. But social conscience is exactly in this sense. There is a necessity to reformulate this thought. And I think that media has this huge responsibility to have this conscience.
Appreciate that very much. Thank you, Dr. Redó. You know, we've got just 1 minute left. I want to go a final word from Mr. Lanza. I hope we can translate this. You said at the heart of concern at the end of your speech that it's essential to restore the family to have hope really for society. Would you leave us with your thoughts? I'm sorry we can't get to everybody, but what are your thoughts on that for the media at this time? How can we build IMAP? How can we work together to help strengthen family using the media? Floor is yours, Mr. Lanza.
Thank you very much. I think that the media worldwide, we have tended the past few years the powerful god of money, and we have focused on the money that moves the media, that influences the media. We, the media, and thanks to the support of businesses, we move forward. And many times, this created a trap in cities like mine, when politics, the politicians influence the media and then create situation with the media lies to the people, and then affects negatively society. So if we want to really be responsible for the morality of our population, we have to be sincere within ourselves. And we must try as hard as possible to be the channels that provide the truth, completely responsible. And that's why the content of our information must be objective and be careful to what are the support, financial support we're getting. If money is influencing the media to the point of what kind of news they provide, we're going to find media that is lying to its viewers. But if we become responsible media, then we will be able to overcome this.
Fantastic.
The truth shall set us free.
Fantastic. Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. You're absolutely right. The truth shall set us free. And we've come to the end of our webinar. Boy, this has been exceptional. I would like to invite all of our panelists. Let's stay in touch. I think we could build a great leadership team with all of your experience. And as you just said there at the end there, Mr. Lanza, that the truth will set us free. It reminds me of a final point. I remember hearing it from Reverend Moon, that before you're a journalist, before any of us are journalists, we're human beings. And that's really where the heart of the matter is. I want to thank Dr. Walsh, thank the sponsors, Dr. Jenkins, and everyone else for this webinar, and especially thank our audience, which is well over a couple thousand people now. You've been great. I just wish we could go now into a banquet room and have a wonderful dinner together, but let's do that sometime in the future. May God bless all of you. Stay healthy, and let's see each other soon for the next webinar for IMAP. Thank you, and God bless you.